Hi, I'm Katie Halcrow with Power Up Prep, and I'm super excited today to take you through some tips and strategies to help you power up your ACT. If this is your first time with us, first, welcome. Second, check out the link below. There, you're going to find the ACT questions and the note sheets that you can do along with these videos. All right, so let's get those materials together, and we're going to be ready to power up. Okay, we're on a roll. We've talked about line reference questions, which we always do first in the reading section, and then scanning questions, which are those questions we do second. Then we have left the content questions. So we do content questions last because unlike scanning and line reference questions, there's not really an exact match answer for these questions, and they're more about the passage as a whole. Not very many questions about the passage as a whole exist on the reading test. There's really only about 1 to 2 per passage, so very minimal. But when we do these questions last, it's really beneficial because by doing the line reference and scanning questions, we already have a really good idea of what the passage is about. So we can then go to the question, read through the answer choices, eliminate what we know is false, and then take our best guess. And that's what we do on these questions. So you're going to do these last because you already have a really good idea of what the passage is about from doing the other questions. So what you're going to do is read through the answer choices to see what you can eliminate and then take your best guess. You are not, under any circumstances, supposed to go back and reread the passage. That just wastes time, and you don't have that time. What I want you to do, you're probably going to be able to get this question right. Most students, after doing all those other questions, can get these questions right just by doing the elimination and then taking your best guess. So that's what I want you to do. The one hint I will give you for this is that if they're asking for a main idea, and this is sort of like what we were talking about with scanning questions, right? If they give us a paragraph and they ask about the main idea of the paragraph, we don't want to pick a specific detail. Same kind of idea here. If they're asking for the main idea of the essay, watch out for distractors. These distractors are answer choices that contain details that are in the passage, but they're not present throughout the passage, so they're not the main idea. Okay, so content questions are the last type of question we do because we've already done our line reference questions and scanning questions, which have given us a really good idea of what the passage is about. So we're going to read through the answer choices, eliminate what we can, and then take our best guess and move on to the next passage. Okay, so one final thing that I forgot to mention before that I want to chat about is where these content questions are. Content questions, these content overview questions, are usually at the very beginning of the questions in the passage. So if it's from 21 to 30 are the numbers for this passage, then the content overview questions will probably be on question 21 and 22. They're usually the first questions. It's not always the case, but it's almost always the case. The other thing I want to talk about in terms of like questions and ordering of the questions is something that students sometimes think. Sometimes students come to me and they're like, oh, well, I know that the questions just go in the order of the passage. Like the first half of the questions are usually in the first half of the passage and the second half of the questions are usually in the second half of the passage. This is not always the case. So I don't want you to go by that rule. I actually looked into it. I was like, I'm going to check into this and see if that's right. So I analyzed a few tests, and it is true for some passages. There are some passages where the questions actually do go in order, but for most passages, they're all over the place. Like some questions that are in line 80 might be in the first 5 questions, and then some questions that where the answer is in line 20 would be in the last 5 questions. So don't go with that. Don't go in thinking that the first questions are going to be in the first part of the passage, and then the second, and then the last questions that are in there are going to be in the last part of the passage. It doesn't work like that all of the time, so I don't want you to go with that. But content overview questions are generally one of the first couple questions. So if you see those questions and you're not sure if they're a scanning question or a content overview question, maybe just save them for the last because they're probably that content overview question. And if you haven't found something good to scan for, then they're going to be content overview. All right, we're all set. Let's go. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them below. We love to hear from you. Also, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss out on any of our curriculum or other tips and tricks that can help you power up your ACT.